Dude, I have Ric Flair t-shirts now.
You should. Ric Flair is a bad motherfucker.
He's ahead of his time. I love it. It is what it is.
The ring wearing, you know what I'm saying? Jet flying.
And all the above.
I might have made a few different decisions, but how could I do anything over and end up like I've ended up now? I mean, I've had just the greatest ride and the greatest time, and I'm retired for a year and still close to the guys, going back. I just went back for the first time. I'm going back to the Hall of Fame.
Hello?
Hi, sir.
Hello?
This is the Charlotte Police Department. Did you need the police up there, sir? What's going on with him?
He don't call me.
Okay, sir.
He don't call me. It's purple, please.
Sir, we do have police on the way. Let me get you over to the medics as well. Hang on 1 second.
No, I'm at the whole...
I understand that, sir. Let me get you over to the medics so they can try to give you some help, all right?
Please.
Yes, sir. Hang on 1 second.
In the annals of professional wrestling, few names resonate with the impact and legacy of Ric Flair. With a career spanning over 4 decades, Flair has been an embodiment of charisma, flamboyance, and unparalleled athleticism, etching his name into the hearts of millions of fans worldwide. However, behind the glittering robes lies a tale of paradoxes, a journey from the pinnacle of success to a cascade of personal and professional challenges that led to a significant fall from grace. This documentary delves deep into the complex saga of Ric Flair, once revered as a wrestling god, now a figure of controversy and disillusionment. Our narrative begins in the golden era of wrestling, where Flair's prowess in the ring, his mic skills, and his persona as the Nature Boy propelled him to unprecedented heights. Through archival footage and interviews with contemporaries, we explore the making of a legend, capturing the triumphs that earned Flair numerous championships and accolades, making him one of the most successful and respected wrestlers of all time. As we peel back the layers of his illustrious career, we also navigate the tumultuous waters of Flair's personal life. Financial extravagance, failed marriages, and a lifestyle that mirrored his on-screen persona began to sow the seeds of his undoing. Through candid interviews with family members, fellow wrestlers, and financial analysts, the documentary exposes the magnitude of Flair's financial troubles, including substantial debts and mismanaged earnings, painting a stark contrast to the glittering image he portrayed. But the descent does not end with financial woes. The documentary takes a darker turn as it investigates the criminal allegations and sexual misconduct issues that have marred Flair's legacy. Testimonies from alleged victims, legal experts, and industry insiders provide a chilling insight into the controversies that have followed Flair, raising questions about the culture of impunity in professional wrestling and the price of fame. In a poignant conclusion, we confront the fall from grace of a man who once had the world at his feet. Through reflective interviews with Flair himself, we seek to understand the lessons learned, the regrets, and the quest for redemption in the twilight of his life. This is not just the story of Ric Flair's downfall, but a broader examination of the price of living a character, the fragility of legacy, and the complex interplay between fame, power, and personal demons in the world of professional wrestling.
Welcome everyone to the WrestlePod. Subscribe now for more pro wrestling and pop culture content.
I can't help it that I look good, smell good, can dance all night long.
Ric Flair, known as the Nature Boy, is a name that transcends the world of professional wrestling. His career, marked by flamboyance, charisma, and unparalleled athletic prowess, made him an icon in the sports entertainment industry. Flair's relationship with money, his extravagant lifestyle, and the subsequent financial hardships he faced paint a complex picture of a man whose on-screen persona and real-life identity became indistinguishably intertwined. Ric Flair's in-ring persona was characterized by extravagance, donning custom-made robes costing thousands of dollars, arriving at events in limousines, and boasting of having custom-made clothes and alligator shoes. Flair epitomized the high life. This wasn't just a character played out for the cameras, it was a reflection of his real-life choices. Flair's penchant for the finest things in life wasn't limited to his wardrobe. Expensive cars, large houses, and the frequent indulgence in the nightlife with rounds of drinks on him were commonplace. This lifestyle was central to Flair's brand, Blurring the lines between the person and the persona, it made him relatable to those who aspired to wealth and success, and entertaining to those who lived vicariously through his exploits. Flair's lavish lifestyle was a significant factor in his popularity. In a time when the American dream was synonymous with financial success and material wealth, Flair embodied this dream in the wrestling ring. His boastful promos, where he declared himself a limousine-riding, jet-flying, kiss-stealing, wheeling-dealing son of a gun, resonated with fans. It wasn't just about the matches, it was the allure of his lifestyle that captivated audiences. Flair's ability to live out his character in real life added authenticity to his persona, making his performances all the more compelling. In essence, Flair didn't just sell tickets to wrestling matches, he sold a lifestyle, a fantasy that many yearned for. I've made some really bad business choices, and it's not because I did things stupid, but because I trusted people. And trust is not stupidity. I had it made, and I let it go. Through divorce and bad choices with women. It's not cost-effective when you're not working and paying $20,000 a month in alimony. I always lived for the day. The very lifestyle that catapulted Flair to stardom became his Achilles' heel. Living the nature boy persona meant maintaining an image that was financially draining. His need to appear affluent led to extravagant spending that often exceeded his substantial earnings. Custom suits, fine dining, and the maintenance of multiple homes were just the tip of the iceberg. As his career progressed, so did his expenses, without a corresponding plan for financial management or savings. The repercussions of this lifestyle became evident as Flair faced significant financial hardships. Legal and marital disputes, coupled with mismanaged finances, led to a cascade of debt and obligations that Flair struggled to meet. There were reports of tax liens, foreclosed properties, and unpaid alimony, painting a stark contrast to the wealth and opulence that defined his character. Flair's financial imprudence was not just a personal failure, but a cautionary tale of the perils of living beyond one's means.
Wings!
In November 1990, Flair was caught travelling 95 miles per hour in a 65 zone. He was forced to apply for a restricted licence so he could drive from airports to his wrestling events. The Superior Court granted his request almost a full year later. But this wasn't the last time Flair would be in trouble whilst sitting behind the wheel of a car. Next, we explore a notable incident which unfolded on the highways of Charlotte, North Carolina. The episode in question occurred on Interstate 485, marking a controversial chapter in Flair's life, characterised by accusations of road rage. During a congested traffic period ahead of the Thanksgiving holiday, an altercation erupted. A fellow motorist recounted how Flair exited his vehicle, confronted him physically, and inflicted damage on his car.
I can't help it.
It's a different time now. Guys are more, I don't know. It's a much more controlled environment now. I mean, when I was running around in the 80s, man, we were hitting it hard, both in the ring and afterward. In the Four Horsemen, we were like the Beatles, Elvis, and the Rolling Stones, all wrapped into one. Wrestling was on fire back then. It was just unbelievable. The chicks were everywhere. One night I got on television and said, "The Four Horsemen are renting a suite on top of the Baltimore Marriott." I said, "Any girl between the ages of 18 and 28 is invited. No husbands, no boyfriends." You should have seen it, man. The lobby was unbelievable. You had to fight your way through it. We had at least 300 women in the room. You couldn't walk. Then I started doing it everywhere. We used to do it in Vegas during the summertime when all the college girls were in town. We had a lot of fun. We had our own private jet. We were on the Great American Bash Tour in 1985. We worked in Frisco, Seattle, Portland, Louisiana, Albuquerque, and Vegas. We stayed at the Tropicana for a 5-day run. I got drunk and spent $40,000 on 2 fur coats. Still got one at home. Never worn it. We flew back to the hotel at midnight and partied until 8 a.m., worked out, and then laid in the sun all day. We did not go to bed for 5 days. It was phenomenal. It was a tremendous life. I don't regret any of it.
Now at this point, I'm bartering. I show you, you show me. The rest of the story, you figured out. I was in the back. I was trying to keep cool. I kept looking up. Then the fight broke out. I was like, fuck that. I'm not even touching that thing. So...
Joe!
But, yeah, no, the plane ride from hell.
Heads down, stay down.
plane filled with alcoholic wrestlers.
Now, without further ado, sit back, relax, and prepare for takeoff.
By the turn of the millennium, the World Wrestling Federation had become the single monopoly within the grappling universe, absorbing their competitors in WCW and a buyout of ECW later, and Vince McMahon was at the helm of the single largest entity that the pro wrestling industry had ever witnessed. Following their success during the Attitude Era and victory in the fabled Monday Night War, this wrestling behemoth was still exploding in popularity. With these new heights of success and swaths of growing fan bases around the world, meant that the already grueling travel schedule within WWF was about to become even more brutal. Vince McMahon wanted to continue his world conquest, and part of his plan was to send out his roster of talented men and women to perform in other countries and attract even more viewers. This meant more money for the company, more shows would mean more ticket sales, more advertising revenue, and more profit for shareholders. However, this more demanding travel schedule would also mean that the performers would be more tired, more worn down, and possibly more reliant on stimulants and depressants to help maintain their schedule and energy. Pair all of these ups and downs with the idea that wrestlers would now be on the road or in the air for a huge portion of their lives, and you have a concoction for disaster. A mix of tired, injured and depressed men and women who, by the very nature of their jobs as entertainers, have more fragile and larger-than-life egos, crammed into a small plane with nothing but long stretches of nothingness and unlimited supplies of alcohol and drugs ahead of them. What could possibly go wrong? In May of 2002, a number of WWE wrestlers and management members flew from England to the United States, following the end of a European tour, which concluded with a British pay-per-view event, Insurrection 2002. Following the grueling tour, some of WWE's biggest talent was exhausted following the final show of the trip. The jubilant atmosphere shared between the wrestlers and production crew was palpable as they left the arena.
There was just such a lack of respect on the flight. We made significant changes because of it. Guys lost their jobs and it hurt people's reputations. They acted so wrong, we couldn't do business with people like that, and we rebuilt our locker room after that.
And headed to the airport to catch a chartered private jet. However, this jubilant atmosphere would quickly sour after the plane was heavily delayed, with all involved stuck on the runway. During this time, the pro wrestlers on board gained access and consumed large quantities of strong alcohol and copious amounts of drugs. As the plane took off, the start of a long journey back to the States, the passengers were already out of control. The following several hours would see a real-life fight between two of the company's top grapplers, an impromptu haircut, and an old woman almost getting urinated on, an unwanted serenade over the plane's speaker system, and an even more unwanted viewing of a 70-year-old man's testicles.
Now at this point, I'm bartering. I show you, you show me. The rest of the story, you figured out. I was in the back. I was trying to keep cool. I kept looking up. And the fight broke out. I was like, fuck that. I'm not even touching that thing.
Joe!
But, yeah, no, the plane ride from hell.
Heads down, stay down.
A plane filled with alcoholic wrestlers.
Now, without further ado, sit back, relax, and prepare for takeoff.
To clarify, the helicopter, as it was called, is accurate.
I'm the Nature Boy Ric Flair. Woo! Let me tell you, there are three things I know: divorce, wrestling, and enduring male friendship. Woo! Now
That is what a man looks like.
So if you want to be lifelong friends, join me on Nature Boy Ric Flair's male bonding nature trail. Woo!
With the fight with Perfect and Brock Lesnar and stuff, and this one's pissing all over the place, and X-Pac's cutting Michael's his hair and cutting his hair off, and
woo! I got Linda on my left and JD on my right.
A grown man spinning his penis around with a big grin on his face, like a little terrier dog who has just found a particularly large stick and wants to show it off to his friends.
Then fucking Flair comes out in his robe, fucking balls naked with his fucking robe on, strutting down the aisleway.
Is it inappropriate, considering this was technically a work environment and his employers were just down the aisle witnessing the whole ordeal? Yes. Is it quite funny? Also, yes. A drunken mate taking his penis out and swinging it around like the propeller from a helicopter would most likely make me laugh. However, the issue is that the fun was about to end.
That's what I do in the morning when I kick 5 girls out of bed. I go, woo!
Now, this next section is about to turn from jovial, drunken antics to something much more serious. As such, I'll not be making any of my own judgments or comments, rather referring to legal experts, sports journalists and eyewitnesses relaying their direct words on the situation.
Just like that, woo!
2 flight attendants, Tara Lynn Capellano and Heidi Doyle, would compile their allegations into a 2004 lawsuit. Chief among the chronicled misdeeds was sexual aggression. He wore nothing but a jeweled cape, the flight attendant said, and flashed his nakedness, spinning his around.
I'd never heard that he had forced someone to touch his genitals. Everything with Rick that was construed as negative I tried to address in the 30 for 30. His drinking, his philandering, his adultery, his money problems, there's quite a bit, but never, at least in the people that I spoke to, no one ever brought up that he would force himself on somebody. I did hear about him exposing himself, which to me is still troubling, very troubling behavior, and that is addressed in the 30 for 30.
And any woman in the world I want.
Rick trapped both women at the end of the plane. He then
forcibly detained and restrained Doyle from leaving the back of the galley of the airplane while he sexually assaulted her.
The flight attendant in question spoke out about what she had experienced.
I couldn't move. I couldn't get away from him. He was spinning around his penis and he wanted me to touch it. He took my hand and put it on him,
said Doyle, who had recently returned to work after having a child. Ric Flair has consistently denied these allegations and has written about them in his books. In 2004, when talk of a lawsuit began to circulate,
a lawsuit filed by the 2 women stated that Flair asked them to touch his penis.
And you got any woman in the world you want.
I wish I could blame it on youth, but it was a case of drinking too much and being inappropriate, and I apologize for that, and have countless times over the years. I made some bad decisions during dark periods in my life, and it is something I've spent a significant part of years I was given by the doctors in 2017 trying to make right. I condemn sexual assault in any way, shape or form. I could written books that have covered my transgressions. I've made some terrible decisions, but I've never forced myself on anyone in any way. Period.
The number of women, the number of conquests, huh?
The 2 women, of course, being Capellano and Doyle, the flight attendants that day. In response, a financial deal was settled with both women and the WWE outside of the courts.
There she is with her 2 favorite studs. And they go, woo, woo, woo!
Flair released a statement on the allegations.
The girls?
I want to clarify a few things. About 4 years ago, I gave ESPN full access to my life for a 30 for 30 special. They covered taxes, financial issues, adultery, divorces, the passing of my child and drinking and partying at length. I allowed my personal life and the lives of my wife and children to be turned upside down for one reason, whether it's good or bad, even the really bad, the truth has to matter. Even in wrestling. My issues have been well documented over my 40-plus year career. The impact of drinking too much has been told time and time again. The reason Rory never heard stories of me forcing myself on anyone is simple: it never happened.
Anywhere I go, Ric Flair. Woo, they call me a Slick Rick, and I'm the Big Daddy.
The plane ride from hell and Ric Flair's involvement has been under harsh scrutiny for the first time since the events took place. What was once a classic tale of drunken debauchery from a man who had made a career bragging of his lavish lifestyle turned into a harrowing nightmare of alleged sexual assault and begged the question, if former wrestlers and legends of the business bring up Ric Flair's helicopter during so many interviews and often comment that Flair was renowned for this type of behaviour, is this the only case when the line between harmless and crass joke is crossed into illegal and immoral activity?
Ric Flair butt naked when he opens that robe up, when he changes into that robe in the bathroom, he comes out and just goes, woo, and just flashes everybody.
Dutch Mantel explained,
I have no sympathy toward Ric Flair. I have no sympathy at all. Because this is behavior that he did over and over again to varying degrees. Now I have never really been around him, but I've heard the rumors. They've been around ever since I've known Ric Flair.
It was something that he did that people wanted him to do for so long that he never knew when to stop, I guess.
And I want all you women out there to remember this.
At its zenith, Evolution was composed of Triple H, Ric Flair, Randy Orton and Batista, a powerhouse lineup that dominated the WWE landscape with a blend of experience, ambition and sheer ruthlessness. This group was seen as a modern echo of Flair's previous alliance, the Four Horsemen, and it masterfully balanced the legacy of the past with the promise of the future in professional wrestling. I thought Randy was going to be a big star, Flair said. I thought Dave Batista was too. Dave got held back by injuries. He got injured 2 or 3 times during that run. But when we were all together, I thought it was just a stellar look. You know, all wearing suits. They shot vignettes of us getting off helicopters and going to bars. It's just what every marriage needs. The concept behind Evolution was not just to showcase the pinnacle of wrestling talent across different eras, but to intertwine these eras into a cohesive and dominating force. Ric Flair, the embodiment of wrestling's illustrious past, Triple H, the reigning exemplar of the present, and Randy Orton and Batista, the bright futures of the industry, formed a symbiotic relationship that propelled each member to new heights. The stable's formation narrative is intriguing, as Mark Jindrak was originally envisioned in Batista's role. However, due to various reasons, including Jindrak's perceived immaturity and Batista's initial injury setbacks, the lineup was reconfigured, ultimately proving fortuitous for the faction's legacy and individual careers. Flair's influence within Evolution was profound. As the veteran of the group, his role transcended that of a mere member. He was a mentor, imparting decades of wrestling wisdom, strategy, and the art of psychological warfare to his younger counterparts. His trademark appearance in suits and his notorious playboy persona were adopted by the group, lending an air of sophistication and menace that became Evolution's hallmark. Under Flair's tutelage, Orton and Batista evolved from promising talents to cornerstone figures of WWE's future. Evolution's tenure was marked by significant triumphs, including multiple championship reigns. Randy Orton and Ric Flair captured the WWE Intercontinental Championship, while Batista and Flair secured the World Tag Team Championship. Triple H, the group's leader, held the World Heavyweight Championship 4 times during Evolution's dominance. These accomplishments were not merely accolades, but affirmations of Evolution's stranglehold on WWE's competitive landscape. However, the faction's unity began to unravel in 2004, signalling the onset of its decline. The group expelled Orton following his World Heavyweight Championship victory at SummerSlam, a move that marked the beginning of internal dissensions. Hunter doesn't drink at all, so I'd drink and Hunter would eat a steak, Flair said. Randy doesn't drink much at all, maybe a couple drinks. Dave, I would get to come out once in a while. But those guys were so attentive to their physiques. The drinking thing just was starting to wind down with the guys, and those guys put so much time in the gym. To look like that, you got to work hard. The drinking wasn't really a part of it. I got all of them to come out one night or another, but not Hunter. I've seen Hunter maybe have 1 glass of wine. Hunter would spend more money on food at the bar than I would spend on booze. The guy would eat 6 New York strip steaks a day, I'm telling you. Evolution was more than just a faction, it was a phenomenon that encapsulated the evolution of wrestling itself, from the glory of the past to the promise of the future. Ric Flair's role as the elder statesman was pivotal, not only in cementing the group's legacy, but in ensuring that the torch of wrestling excellence was passed on to the next generation, a mission that Evolution accomplished with unparalleled finesse and brutality. In the twilight of Ric Flair's illustrious career, a riveting feud unfolded with The Undertaker, setting the stage for a clash at WrestleMania 18 that would become etched in wrestling lore. This confrontation was not just a battle between two titans of the ring, but a narrative deeply rooted in personal vendetta and professional pride. Another case of a feud starting because of interference for Mark Calloway saw Ric Flair getting stuck into The Undertaker's match against The Rock at No Way Out in 2002. This led to a match at WrestleMania 18 between the Nature Boy and The Undertaker in a no disqualification match which ended with a signature tombstone piledriver and both men covered in blood. After the match, Undertaker raised all 10 fingers to indicate for the first time that he was undefeated and thus begun the acknowledgement of the streak. The invasion angle had gripped WWE, a storyline that promised unmatched spectacle, but fell short largely due to the absence of top-tier stars from the rival factions, with Flair making his entrance right after the invasion storyline concluded. Flair's return was nothing short of cinematic, revealing himself as the new co-owner of WWE thanks to acquiring stocks from Shane and Stephanie McMahon. This wasn't just a comeback, it was a resurrection of the Nature Boy persona, replete with the flair and charisma that had defined his career.
The most prolific talker sports entertainment has ever seen.
The narrative behind Flair's on-screen rivalry with Vince McMahon might have seemed straightforward to the viewers, two titans clashing over the control of WWE, culminating in a no-holds-barred street fight at the Royal Rumble. Yet, the real story behind Flair's return to in-ring action was deeply personal and far removed from his confident on-screen persona. Haunted by his disappointing final years in WCW, Flair had lost all confidence in his wrestling abilities. It was Vince McMahon who, with heartfelt persuasion, convinced Flair to face him in the ring, reigniting the Nature Boy's passion for wrestling. This encouragement, coupled with a request from The Undertaker for a match, revitalized Flair's career, transforming his reluctance into a celebrated return. Their Royal Rumble match was a testament to both competitors' storytelling prowess. McMahon's villainous antics, including taunting Flair in front of his own children, set the stage for a dramatic comeback by Flair, utilizing chops, weapons, and ultimately the iconic Figure 4 leg lock. Flair secured victory in a match that was more than just a contest. It was a triumphant reaffirmation of his wrestling legacy, celebrated in the heart of Atlanta, a city forever loyal to the Nature Boy. The journey to this monumental clash began on a memorable night in November 2007 when Ric Flair, with the fire of his indomitable spirit, declared on Raw that he would never retire. This bold proclamation set the stage for an epic narrative, as Vince McMahon ominously decreed that the next loss Flair suffered would spell the end of his illustrious career. In a recent reflection, Michaels mused that the landscape of social media today might have altered the course of this retirement saga, underscoring the unique timing of their historic match. The greatest moment in my life was wrestling Shawn Michaels for my retirement. No lie about that. The emotional part of it was big. That was legit, man. I didn't want to retire. Vince made me. I don't know what I thought at the time. Remember that it was WWE that decided to retire Ric Flair. Obviously, it was very emotional for myself, Shawn, and my fans. It is not easy to do this for as long as I have, and then all of a sudden quit because the company you work for tells you to. I'm not bashing WWE, as I have great respect for the group. I believe that the whole setup was beautiful, and they did a great job with the Hall of Fame ceremony and the goodbye on Raw afterward. But I am not ready to sit at home and build a garden. I feel great. I work hard, and I am ready to keep going. The only one that truly will know the right time to stop is myself. Ric Flair. Their WrestleMania encounter was billed as a career-threatening match, a battle where the legendary Nature Boy's career hung precariously in the balance. From the opening bell that had the audience on the edge of their seats, the tension escalated when Michaels, responding to Flair's taunting Old Yeller remarks, struck Flair, drawing first blood in what would become a saga of resilience and heart. As the match unfolded, Michaels hesitated to deliver his signature sweet chin music, a moment of hesitation that Flair seized to lock in his infamous figure four leg lock. Yet, in the end, it was Michaels who, with a mix of reluctance and resolve, delivered not one, but two sweet chin musics to the Nature Boy. Before the final decisive strike, whispered the now immortal words, "I'm sorry, I love you," marking the end of Flair's 35-year tenure in the ring with a poignant finale, who received a standing ovation, a gesture of respect and adoration from the WWE Universe. Flair's embrace with his family at ringside and his heartfelt thanks to the crowd as he made his way backstage were moments of vulnerability and gratitude, the likes of which are rarely seen and never forgotten. This final match at WrestleMania 24, coming on the heels of Flair's WWE Hall of Fame induction the night before, represented more than just a retirement stipulation. It was a ceremonial passing of the torch between two unparalleled legends of the ring, encapsulating decades of passion, dedication, and the unyielding spirit of the Nature Boy. Shawn Michaels may have won the match, but the enduring legacy of that night belongs to both warriors, immortalized by the bond of respect and the unforgettable farewell to one of wrestling's greatest icons. "I got very insecure as I got older because people kept telling me I was old," Flair said. "It made me insecure about my ability. Even though I could still perform, the age word kept hitting me so many different times, from so many different angles. When I came through that curtain, I know Shawn said, 'Man, that was great,' but I truly didn't know if it was good or bad. I knew it was highly emotional, the crowd was into it, and Shawn had just performed like nobody else. But when we walked back through that curtain, the entire company was there waiting for us. Not just the technical people, but the whole company was lined up through the hallway."
Like anybody that is successful in our business, my commitment to have the best match, no matter how long I had to be out there, never went away. It didn't matter who I was wrestling.
Everything is about money, timing, what they want me to do, and the job description. There's a lot up in the air. I haven't talked to TNA ownership yet, but I've had conversations with people who work there. I've stood by WWE, but if they're not going to use me anymore, I'm ready for any kind of action. In 2009, Flair dipped his toes into the independent circuit with Ring of Honor.
And it is great to have the Nature Boy as a part of Ring of Honor.
Ric Flair is just not going to retire and leave professional wrestling.
Aiming to open doors for his son, Reed Flair, within the promotion. His tenure in ROH, however, was marred by controversy as Flair exited the scene abruptly, leaving behind unresolved commitments and legal entanglements. The subsequent period was marked by uncertainty for Flair.
When the Ring of Honor called me, I didn't have to blink. I didn't have to think for a second. I said, Ring of Honor, Ric Flair, that works for me.
Despite a brief reconnection with WWE, he found himself on the sidelines, yearning for a more substantial role within the wrestling world. This desire led him to partake in Hulk Hogan's Hulkamania tour, temporarily stepping out of retirement for several matches. One man who is possibly the most experienced wrestler alive today when it comes to creating a spectacle of blood is Ric Flair. In 2009, Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff created a partnership and put on a set of shows across Australia. 4 nights, with the main event each evening being a singles match between Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair. 2 men with a storied past, and as Hogan had never wrestled in Australia before, had fans young and old clambering for a ticket to see some good, clean family fun. However, the stipulation being no disqualification for one of the nights saw both men, who are way beyond their prime at this point, heavily rely on outside interference and blood to win over the fans. Some young families were said to have been shocked at what they witnessed, not realising how violent the show would become, especially as by the end of the match, both Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan were completely drenched in crimson. Hogan won all 4 of the matches, obviously, and Ric Flair went above and beyond to get his fair share of the attention, who, by the end of the no disqualification match, had rekindled an iconic look from days past gone. Ric Flair, his dazzling streak of blonde hair soaked pink with his and his opponent's blood. Yet, it was his decision in 2010 to join Total Non-Stop Action Wrestling TNA that would mark a new, albeit turbulent, chapter in his career. TNA, eager to establish itself as a formidable rival to WWE, heralded Flair's arrival as a significant coup. I was far from being Ric Flair back then. I just got bored. I missed the business. There are nice people there. Dixie Carter is a nice person. Hulk Hogan talked me into it, and I went with it. I love Kurt Angle, I love Sting, and I love James Storm. I have a lot of friends in TNA that I still think the world of. It wasn't like I was working. It wasn't like I was Ric Flair. I can always talk. I can talk tomorrow if they want me to, and I can get bumped around. I just have to keep my clothes on because cosmetics is a major issue at this point. Flair's TNA debut on January 4th, 2010 was a spectacle designed to signal the promotion's ambitious intent. Aligning with AJ Styles, Flair assumed a pivotal role in the TNA landscape, initially guiding Styles to retain the TNA World Heavyweight Championship against Kurt Angle at the Genesis. Flair's influence extended to mentoring other talents, managing notable wrestlers like Beer Money, James Storm and Robert Roode, and Desmond Wolfe. His foray into in-ring competition saw him leading a faction against Team Hogan at the Lockdown event, although his team would not emerge victorious. I needed the money, and I had fun. Easy. I got there at 3 o'clock, and I was back at the hotel and the bar by 7. Kurt Angle was there, Sting was there, Hulk Hogan was there. I hated working with Bischoff. It was a sham. I needed the money, and that's all there was. The narrative took a bizarre turn with Flair and Hulk Hogan wagering their WWE Hall of Fame rings in a storyline, leading to Flair's on-screen loss of his ring to Abyss. This period also saw the inception of Fortune, a faction led by Flair, designed as a modern echo of the legendary Four Horsemen. Despite its initial promise, the group's trajectory was derailed by convoluted storytelling, notably its alliance with the Immortal faction, led by Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan. Financial disputes and injuries plagued Flair's tenure in TNA, culminating in a torn rotator cuff during a European tour. His allegiance shifted within the promotion's tumultuous faction wars, and after a series of injuries and a contentious relationship with the promotion, Flair sought to exit. His departure was not without controversy, as it sparked legal action from TNA, accusing WWE of contract tampering. It was a disaster. Everything I did with Bischoff and Russo, you know what people say to me now, where would you have been if WCW hadn't treated you like that? I get that from people that are my friends who want to know where I would have been if they treated me with any respect whatsoever. Flair's time in TNA is remembered as a complex and challenging phase of his career, marked by moments of brilliance overshadowed by personal and professional turmoil. I apologised to Vince profusely for even doing it, but I needed the money and I had a good time with the guys. I didn't have to do anything, and I liked Bruce Pritchard too. His eventual return to WWE in late 2012 closed the chapter on a TNA stint that, while ambitious, failed to recapture the magic of his earlier wrestling exploits. This period serves as a reflective mirror on the impermanence of glory and the relentless pursuit of passion, encapsulating the bittersweet reality of a legend wrestling with his own legacy.
I know he meant so much to you, and he was following in your footsteps, and you can talk about it in the film, but how did his death change your life?
Well, you know, I'm not sure I've accepted it yet, but it just made my life, you know, the thing that nobody understands is we say like he died on my watch. Never achieved with me.
In a tragic moment that sent ripples through the wrestling community and beyond, Ric the Nature Boy Flair faced an unimaginable loss when his son, Reed Flair, was discovered deceased in a hotel room in Charlotte. The distressing news emerged after local police were summoned to the Charlotte area Marriott on a fateful Friday morning, finding 25-year-old Reed unresponsive.
I opened the fucking door just to check on him, which I even walked out halfway. I said, shit, I'm just going to check on him. I can't just leave him. Walked in, he was purple as shit.
Initial investigations by law enforcement suggested that foul play was not a factor in his untimely death. Yet, The inquiry into the circumstances surrounding this heartbreaking event remained active. Reed's relationship with his father, Ric Flair, was deeply interwoven with the world of professional wrestling, a bond that not only connected them personally, but also professionally. Ric, a towering figure in wrestling history, shared his passion for the sport with Reed from a young age, nurturing his son's growing talent and ambition to follow in his iconic footsteps.
It still kills me. How do you get away from the feeling that you're responsible for not calling? I should have called.
The aspirations and achievements of Reed in wrestling were a source of immense pride for the Flair family, making his sudden loss even more poignant. The impact of Reed's death on his family was profound. Ric Flair, a man celebrated for his vibrant persona and unparalleled achievements in the wrestling ring, was left to grapple with a grief that words could scarcely describe. The loss of a child is an unspeakable sorrow, and for Ric, it was a devastating blow that tested the very limits of his strength and resilience. The Flair family, tightly knit through their triumphs and challenges, faced the difficult task of coming to terms with a future without Reed, a promising young athlete whose life was cut tragically short. Reed's passing left an indelible mark on those who knew him, remembered not only for his burgeoning career in wrestling, but for his vibrant spirit and the love he shared with his family and friends. As the wrestling community and fans worldwide mourned alongside the Flairs, the legacy of Ric Flair remained a poignant reminder of the bright talent and passion that had been lost too soon.
Yeah, I did, but the business gave me so much. The business really gave me a lot. I didn't give nearly as much as it gave me.
The year following the heart-wrenching death of his son Reed in 2013, Ric Flair found himself spiralling into a perilous cycle of self-destruction marked by excessive alcohol consumption. A documentary shed light on this dark period, revealing Flair's harrowing routine of consuming upwards of 15 alcoholic beverages daily. This pattern of behaviour grew so alarming that Wendy, Flair's wife at the time, reached out in desperation to Triple H. Given Triple H's admiration for Flair and the influence Flair had on his career, he was quick to intervene, presenting Flair with a stark choice: enter rehab immediately or face the end of his career with WWE.
It's the talk of the town today. A WWE Hall of Famer was asked to leave a Fort Wayne bar last night, and it lit up social media.
Manager Lori Schrader was helping out at the bar.
This gentleman kind of said, "Hey, beautiful, are you married?" I have no idea who this guy is. He goes, "Can you get me drinks?" I said, "Absolutely." Got him drinks. I'd let the bartender know, and off I went.
A few minutes later, she was called back to the bar for a problem with a customer.
Lo and behold, it's this man.
The bartender tells us he asked Flair if he wanted a refill on his drink. When he turned to start making the new drink, Flair yelled at him, "Hey, dumb expletive, I want a new glass."
I said, "Were you asked to leave?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Then you need to leave."
Flair then went to the outside bar, called the Deck.
Everyone started doing the woos, and so we all knew who was there.
It's pretty wild. Wow.
It is. I bet a lot of people talking about it today.
This tough love approach was precisely the wake-up call Flair needed. Confronted with this ultimatum, Flair made the critical decision to seek help, marking a turning point in his life. He recounted the moment he changed course, driving to the airport to embark on his journey to a Tampa rehab facility for alcoholism treatment. In a candid admission, Flair disclosed that in the brief interval between committing to rehab and his actual admission into the program, he consumed an astonishing 30 drinks. Flair's struggle with alcoholism was not isolated from his public persona. An episode that starkly illustrated his battle occurred during a WWE 2K14 panel preceding SummerSlam, an event sponsored by the corporation and attended by fans.
Her boy. And Stone Cold, 3 hours over here in my room. Good luck with that one. Woo!
Flair, who was visibly intoxicated, veered off script, overshadowing the event with his unpredictable behaviour. Despite the circumstances surrounding his son's tragic passing, Flair's actions during the panel highlighted the severity of his condition. Jim Ross, who hosted the event, attempted to steer the panel back on course, even as Flair seemed to anticipate a role at the upcoming WrestleMania, a notion Ross quickly tried to correct.
To pro wrestling fans, Ric Flair is a larger-than-life figure known for his swagger and his colorful personality.
That's right, but tonight, Flair is talking about a part of his life most fans know nothing about. How decades of so-called social drinking ended with a health scare last summer that he says nearly killed him.
That I will never retire!
Ric Flair has led a life as vibrant and tumultuous as the personas he portrayed within the squared circle. Flair's narrative is one marked by extraordinary resilience, a zest for life that propelled him to the pinnacle of the wrestling world, and a penchant for indulgence that has often led him to the brink of personal and health crises. Flair's vibrant robes, charismatic promos, and in-ring prowess captivated audiences worldwide, making him an icon of the sport. However, Flair's zeal for life was not confined to the wrestling ring. It extended into a lifestyle characterized by excess and indulgence, which ultimately took a toll on his health. In 2017,
I knew that there was something going on because it really hurt. So she took me, and sure enough, my intestines had ruptured.
the wrestling world was held in suspense as news emerged of Ric Flair's hospitalization due to a medical emergency. The situation was initially described as very serious, with reports citing ongoing heart problems and multiple medical procedures leading up to his surgery.
And if that goes on long enough, then it causes a cascade of problems, hypovolemic shock, sepsis, multi-organ failure, all of which Mr. Flair had.
The press painted a grim picture of Flair's health, signalling a potential end to the vibrant life of the nature boy. Conrad Thompson, Flair's son-in-law, sought to downplay the severity of the situation, stating that Flair was undergoing a planned procedure. However, contrary to Thompson's optimistic portrayal, Ryan Satin reported that Flair's condition was indeed grave, linked to recent heart issues.
And vascular surgeon Dr. Jim Elsey wasn't sure that Flair would survive.
Due to ongoing health complications, Rick was taken to the hospital and is expected to undergo a procedure tomorrow morning, after which he expects to fully recover. Rick's wife, Wendy Barlow, said, "The gravity of Flair's condition became evident when it was revealed that he had been placed in a medically induced coma for 11 days after suffering a ruptured intestine. Upon his recovery, Flair shared that he had been given only a 20% chance to live at the time of his hospitalization. This brush with death highlighted the precariousness of Flair's health, much of which could be attributed to his long-standing issues with alcohol. I had one vice," admitted Flair. "I'm not going to point my finger at anybody else. My vice was drinking. I didn't have any pain issues, addiction problems, marijuana, cocaine, nothing like that. It's a fact that I kept myself up all night and always had a good time." Flair himself admitted that drinking had been a significant problem throughout his career, affecting not only his health, but also his personal life. Despite these challenges, Ric Flair's recovery and subsequent return home showcased his incredible resilience and undying passion for life. His absence from StarCast and his own roast, scheduled to occur alongside All Elite Wrestling's Double or Nothing pay-per-view in Las Vegas, was felt deeply by fans and peers alike. Yet, in true Flair fashion, he remained optimistic about his future, stating, "I'm up, I'm well, and I'm just starting to tell my story. I'm never going to get old. I got a wife that wants a 35-year-old man every day of her life. I don't care how many doctors tell me, you got to learn to grow up. I'm not going to act like my age. Don't ever tell me that. I'm paying you to make me better so I can be me. That's me, and that's all I'm ever going to be, good or bad." Ric Flair's journey embodies the dualities of human nature, the capacity for both self-destruction and profound resilience. His love for life and wrestling propelled him to legendary status within the industry, but his indulgences led to severe health and personal crises. Through it all, Flair's spirit has remained unbroken, a testament to his character both inside and outside the ring. As the Nature Boy continues to share his story, he serves as a complex symbol of the highs and lows of a life lived at full throttle, reminding us of the strength and vulnerability inherent in the human condition.
July 31st, Nashville, Tennessee. As promised, Ric Flair will walk that aisle one more time. Guaranteed this time to be the last time.
In a monumental celebration of a storied 5-decade career, Ric Flair's last match emerged not just as a wrestling event, but as a historic gathering, a fitting tribute to the legendary Ric Flair. This professional wrestling pay-per-view, PPV extravaganza, held on July 31st, 2022 at the iconic Nashville Municipal Auditorium in Nashville, Tennessee, captivated audiences both live and via broadcast on FITE and in demand, orchestrated under the guidance of Conrad Thompson and David Crockett, and carrying the esteemed banner of Jim Crockett Promotions. For the first time since the late 1980s, this event was seamlessly woven into the fabric of the StarCast convention. Ric Flair, the man of the hour, stepped into the ring for what was billed as the final bout of his remarkable 50-year tenure in the sport, teaming up with his son-in-law, Andrade El Idolo. Together, they clinched victory over Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett, etching an indelible mark on the canvas of professional wrestling history. An unprecedented assembly of talent from across the wrestling world showcased their skills, with athletes from All Elite Wrestling, Black Label Pro, DDT Pro Wrestling, Future Stars of Wrestling, Game Changer Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, Lucha Libre, WWA Worldwide, Major League Wrestling, National Wrestling Alliance, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Ohio Valley Wrestling, Progress Wrestling, Pro Wrestling Revolver, Ring of Honor, Terminus, Modern Age Grappling, and WWE taking part. This remarkable coalition of wrestling promotions, the first since the third annual Brian Pillman Memorial Show in 2000, underscored the evening's significance. Drawing a crowd of 6,800 fans and generating a live gate of $448,502, the event not only paid homage to Flair's illustrious career, but also stood as the second highest grossing North American independent wrestling event in modern times, surpassed only by All In. Reflecting on his journey, Flair's career had previously reached a pivotal moment at WWE's WrestleMania 22 in March 2008, where he faced Shawn Michaels in what was then thought to be his retirement match. Despite this, Flair's financial difficulties compelled him to return to the ring, participating in the Hulkamania Let the Battle Begin tour in 2009 and wrestling for total non-stop action, wrestling from 2010 to 2011, a decision he later regretted due to the financial motivations behind it. Anticipation for Flair's final showdown began to mount when footage of him training with former TNA rival Jay Lethal surfaced in April 2022. The announcement of his final match was made in May 2022, set to take place at the Tennessee State Fairgrounds Sports Arena as a cornerstone of the StarCast convention, coinciding with WWE's SummerSlam. The event's venue was later shifted to the larger Nashville Municipal Auditorium to accommodate the overwhelming demand, a site of previous headline events for Flair, including memorable matches against Ricky Steamboat and Randy Savage. The city of Nashville, recognizing the significance of the occasion, declared July 31st Ric Flair Day. The storytelling leading up to the event unfolded through a 3-part weekly web series titled Ric Flair The Last Match. Narrated by Darius Rucker, the series delved into Flair's personal battles and the dramatic build-up to the final match, including a physical altercation involving Flair, Jay Lethal, and WWE executive Jeff Jarrett, which set the stage for the climactic tag team encounter. Adding to the event's drama, an angle was filmed during Game Changer Wrestling's event at StarCast, where Nick Gage warned of a GCW invasion, further intensifying the anticipation. The originally envisioned main event, a 6-man tag team match featuring wrestling icons, was altered due to various circumstances, leading to the final lineup that included Flair's last dance in the ring. Ric Flair's last match not only commemorated the end of an era, but also celebrated the enduring legacy of one of wrestling's most iconic figures, solidifying his departure from the ring amidst the roar of fans and the respect of peers.
Hey, this is the Nature Boy Ric Flair, that limousine riding, jet flying, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, and you're watching me.
In the fading glow of a setting sun, our journey through the tumultuous saga of Ric Flair, the Nature Boy, draws to a poignant close. Ric Flair, an icon, a legend, whose dazzling persona lit up the wrestling world like a comet streaking across a night sky, now finds himself wrestling with challenges far removed from the cheering crowds and the glittering belts that once defined his existence. The glittering facade of the Nature Boy, with his flamboyant robes and his trademark woo, belied the struggles and the sacrifices made at the altar of fame. It's a testament to the harsh truth that behind the persona, the championships, and the adulation lies a human being grappling with the vicissitudes of life. The downfall of Ric Flair is a somber reminder of the ephemeral nature of glory. The physical toll of decades in the ring, the personal battles fought in the private arena of his life, and the quest for a legacy that transcends the fleeting cheers of the crowd, all these elements weave together into a tapestry of triumph and tragedy. It speaks to the fragility of our idols and the feet of clay upon which even the mightiest among us stand. Yet, even as we navigate through the shadows of Flair's later years, there is a glimmer of resilience, a testament to the indomitable spirit that defined his career. The story of Ric Flair is not just a narrative of downfall, but a complex journey of a man continually fighting, sometimes against opponents in the ring, sometimes against life itself. It's a reflection on the price of immortality in the public eye, the cost of living a life larger than life. As our exploration comes to an end, we are left with a mixture of emotions: admiration for the brilliance that was, sadness for the struggles endured, and a contemplation on the ephemeral nature of fame and the relentless passage of time. In closing, the story of Ric Flair serves as a cautionary tale. Ric Flair's journey, with all its spectacle and sorrow, continues to resonate, a poignant reminder of the complex interplay between the public personas we celebrate and the private lives that bear the weight of our collective adulation. In the end, perhaps the true legacy of the Nature Boy lies not in the titles won or the fame achieved, but in the enduring conversation about the human cost of living a legend.